Alaskan Bush People was reality TV in name only, and lots of what you saw in the series was staged, falsified, or rigged, including living in either Alaska or the bush. The whole premise of Alaskan Bush People is that it's about a family living away from civilization.
Deep in the Alaskan wilderness, there's a recently discovered family that was born and raised wild.
The primary setting for the series is a loosely associated collection of rustic buildings in the middle of a remote location that the Brown family calls Browntown. But according to Radar Online, Browntown was built for the show. It's a set, and the family didn't really live there. When the series was actively filming, the Browns would occasionally sleep in Browntown, but they otherwise worked out of the Icy Strait Lodge and another hotel in nearby Hoonah, Alaska.
This is my place?
This is where you sleep?
Yes. It was originally chicken coop.
In fact, the Brown family didn't even live in Alaska when their show wasn't in production, which was a crime. Under the Permanent Fund dividend, year-round residents of Alaska get hefty payouts from the state's lucrative oil industry. But in 2016, Billy Brown and his son Joshua were caught defrauding the Alaskan government for around $20,000.
I'd never cheat Alaska.
They pleaded guilty, admitting that they hadn't lived in Alaska at all between 2009 and 2012. By the fourth episode of Season 1, Fight or Flight, the show was already manufacturing stories. According to an intriguing disclaimer that aired at the beginning of the episode, during production an incident occurred and filming was stopped. Apparently, Billy, Amy, and all 7 of their children were forced to flee their remote cabin after hearing 2 nearby gunshots. As some of the men rush out to protect their home, there's a third shot, and the Browns retreat into the house. Then the family actually leaves the homestead, moving on.
I have 7 kids. I want to leave with 7 kids. This land is not worth dying for.
More than a year after the episode aired, a reporter from the Anchorage Daily News dug into the story to see if the source of the gunshots had ever been found. No one associated with Alaskan Bush People filed a police report regarding gunfire, but there was an annoyed neighbor who shot fireworks at an airborne production helicopter when it interrupted his family's dinner. Throughout the series, members of the Brown family ply their trades in south-central Alaska's Copper River Basin. It's supposed to be a rural, hard-to-reach spot in the already sparsely populated state, but the Browns' home turf isn't as remote as the show would like viewers to believe.
Don't mess around with the moose, okay?
I won't play with him, I promise.
About 2,500 people live in the area, and the Browns live and work in a small neighborhood not far from the highway. There's even a pizza parlor half a mile from the Browns' home, although it's unclear whether they deliver. Even though the Browns supposedly lived far away from any sizable population, the young adults in the family managed to find and participate in a viable dating pool.
According to my code of honor, I must ask Christy's grandparents' permission to ask her permission to take her out on a date.
While that may strain plausibility for viewers, one relationship depicted on the series may have been entirely staged to create a plotline for the show. On the 2016 episode Driving Miss Rainey, Noah Brown returned to Alaska after some time away with a potential love interest. Presented as the result of a random encounter turned romantic, the relationship between Brown and Karryna, a server from San Diego, lasted for the length of a single episode.
I guess every heartbreak changes you a little bit.
But while Karryna may have waited tables, she was also a 2012 Miss California contestant and had appeared in a handful of short films. In other words, she was an actor. Alaskan Bush People was inspired by One Wave at a Time, a 2007 book by Billy Brown. The memoir described how the sprawling Brown family got along in rugged rural Alaska without electricity or modern technology. So when it came time to shoot, producers asked the Browns to live that way for the cameras, and they pretended to do so. But by the time filming got underway, the Browns were completely hooked up. In a 2021 Instagram post, Matt Brown admitted, "I loved filming the show, but I didn't like lying about the way I live and the way things are in life."
When the good Lord gives you a wildfire, you have to use the charcoal.
I've been wanting to make my own eyeliner.
And while a technology-free lifestyle was fundamental to the series' premise, the Brown children were hardly technophobes. In fact, in 2018, Bear Brown used his social media accounts to stage a death hoax, while many of his siblings actively updated their Instagram accounts while Alaskan Bush People was still on the air. When Noah Brown got married in 2018, his wedding photographer brought along her daughter, model Raven Adams, as an assistant, and she and Bear hit it off. About a year later, the pair briefly got engaged, only to split up a couple of weeks later. When Raven found out she was pregnant, they got back together and eventually got married, but things didn't go well. Adams ultimately filed a restraining order against Bear. But during the time they were together, she got a good look into the off-screen life of the Brown family. According to Adams, who appeared on the show throughout its 11th season, Alaskan Bush People wasn't unscripted.
We really live more like pioneers than modern-day people.
In a 2020 interview with The Sun, she said, "None of it is real. About 10% of it is real. This show is not real." Adams went on to corroborate other accounts of the series fudging some major elements of the show, saying, "When I was there, the only person who lived on the mountain was Rain and Bird, and they were living in trailers. They would take us to the mountain and we would film." Even more interesting, she also suggested that the wholesome family togetherness and camaraderie depicted on the show didn't reflect real life, sharing, "None of the siblings get along. The only siblings that get along are Bird and Rain."